So we found BILT when our chief marketing officer for our direct-to-consumer side of the business, she bought a Weber grill. And so she experienced the use of the app and thought it was pretty awesome and said this would be a great app to use as we market and sell this new machine, because we're trying to make it a machine that is simple and easy to use, simple and easy to set up, simple and easy for consumers to get comfortable around. Hey, I can do this. I can do long arm quilting, which is at times it's intimidating to a lot of our customers. Yeah, we put together the frame systems, which is kind of the more complex part of our assembly for our machines, and is an integral part because you have to have everything level. If they're not level, machines move and go different directions than they need to be going. So we went through that process yesterday, set everything up with your team, kind of walked through some of the more difficult parts and addressed some of the issues, some of the parts that I felt failed at and assembled incorrectly. But got everything kind of worked out yesterday, and as you can see kind of around here, we got the 2 machines set up and 2 frame systems set up. And these are entry-level machines for us, machines that we hope consumers will be able to do more on their own versus having a professional come in and set them up for them. Part of what is required when you have a long arm quilting machine is not just the assembly, but the initial setup of the quilt and the setup of how to load a quilt, how to prep a quilt before you actually start to use the machine. We believe that while those aren't addressed right now in our instructions, you have to go search and find that information on YouTube. We believe that those can be integrated to some extent into the BILT system so that we can give more education, more understanding to those customers who might set the machine up and then go, okay, now what? How do I put a quilt on here? How do I load a quilt? How do I tension my machine so I can start to do a quilt? And gets them past that initial anxiety of how to use the machine once it's set up. The difficult part with YouTube is because you can walk people through it, but it's time consuming. You know, they might have to watch an hour-long video or longer to be able to figure out how to do it and to pause and to stop in between tasks. And specifically, and I can attest to this completely because I've set up a couple of these frames recently because it's a new machine, but even I made mistakes when I was demonstrating to your team how to set this up. I used the wrong screws and then had to go back and repeat some things because I had used the wrong screws. We had descriptions of the screws, but you couldn't see what the screw actually looked like. And I used the wrong screws when I set this up initially with your team, which caused a little problem. We had to go back and redo some things. So it's things like that where if a person can actually zoom into or see the specific screw that they have to use, because they are different in there, and you can tell them if you see them, but in a manual, it's really hard to do that. So those kinds of things, those kinds of little mistakes will simplify life, and those are headaches that customers don't want to experience. COVID has affected it because most of our business is through brick and mortar. So we're selling through retailers, and in most situations, retailers will do the setup of these machines. That had a big effect when everyone was shut down for some time because people, first of all, couldn't go see the machines. Second of all, the retailers weren't able to go out and do setup. Things have been picking up since then. We're getting back to a normal, if you can call anything in this era normal. We're getting back to normal, but we've identified that, you know, getting more to a stage where we can sell both through brick and mortar and direct to consumer, and have our consumers do more of the setup and give them more support without having to rely completely on the brick and mortar and the retailers and the crews that they are, the people that they have that would set things up, is beneficial for the company and is beneficial for our consumer. I've been impressed with the team, the way that they're kind of digging into things with me and they're grasping things fairly quickly. You can tell they've worked on lots of different projects because they can kind of spot and identify problems that will happen that to me might seem basic, but to them it's, oh, those are simple mistakes. We see lots of people make those mistakes. Here's how we can remedy that. Here's how we can fix it. And it's been refreshing to kind of see their viewpoint as we've done some of these things. And their, I guess, kind of their mentality is, oh yeah, don't worry about that. We deal with lots of companies that have that miss things because they're not focused on this, and you guys are laser focused on assembly and the small tasks that make life difficult for customers. So it's been nice. You guys have a good team. We're excited to work with you.